Last year I started filming the flowers along the west coast for days on end, filled memory cards, and just never finished this video that I wanted to make. So, seatbelts on, let's go. Of all the days that I've chosen to finish a mission, this is one of the most miserable days that I've experienced since being here this winter. All the days were mild, reasonably warm, no rain, no mist I was aware of. Anyway, I'm on my way to Malmesbury, through Darling to the West Coast National Park. Now the thing that has been confusing me about the flowers is that this slope here on the left side is covered in flowers. They're closed now, but they are there. The whole slope is covered in flowers. And on our trip down, we saw flowers maybe after Lanesburg when we started taking note of flowers along the side of the road. So a bit of a strange time of year to see flowers. And then I thought, well, that old video that has been consigned to the dung heap, maybe I should resurrect it in some form and come and see if there are actually flowers in the national park in July. The mist is a little worse, but we have flowers galore. Lilies all over the show. I suppose you'll have to take my word for it. Both sides of the road. And it's not really visible to the camera as far as I can see on this little screen that I'm looking at. West Coast National Park was supposed to be the start of our flower trip. Then we didn't do that, and then the video didn't get finished. So let's see how we go this time. And so we are arriving at West Coast National Park. There aren't flowers, according to the lady at the gate, which is perhaps how it should be, because it is the middle of July. But flowers are not the only reason that I am in the West Coast National Park. It is just the starting point of what last year's journey should have been, and also the starting point of a video that I should have made. So let's see if we actually have a video at the end of all this. So this is the visitor center here at this house that Van Breda built.
This is a replica of fossilized footprints that were found on the shores of Langebaan Lagoon. So the fossil was dated to be about 117,000 years old. And even then, the person who made these footprints would have been able to look at the same landscape that I now find myself in. Isn't that amazing? Wow.
When my wife and I traveled up the N7 last year in August to go and capture flowers and look at flowers and just experience what nature was providing on a platter, I captured a lot of footage of flowers. But when I got home to go and try and condense all this footage into a little video, I found that I just couldn't capture the essence of what it was that we saw. So let's go and see if I can get the story straight now. We are heading north at a time when the wildflowers are supposed to be transforming the landscape into a tapestry of colors. We have just set off now on our flower journey from Langebaan after having spent the night there. The flowers did not appear to have opened in the West Coast National Park just yet, so we are heading to Nieuwoudtval. We have just stopped by somebody's canola field because we want to look at flowers, and canolas are flowers to start off with. So we want to see if there are any daisies around. Later on, the sun has just come out. It started off as a miserable day, but the sun opens up the flowers, and so hopefully we'll see some. Okay, enough of the canolas. Let's continue heading north past Piketberg, which is just here ahead of us. And up the road we will see Citrusdal and Klein Willem and Klaver, and these are towns that are on the Olifants River Valley. Now this valley is a fertile valley which supports about 15% of South Africa's citrus industry. When we get to Van Reynsdorp, we'll turn right and travel up the escarpment via Van Reyns Pass to Nieuwoudtval.
People have apparently seen lots of flowers there in previous years, so we'll see what we see.
Wow, just look at this orange carpet here on the side of the road. Yo.
We are just entering Van Rhynsdorp. This town was previously known as True True, but was renamed after Petrus van Ryn, who was a clergyman, a politician and community leader.
We are out of Van Rhynsdorp now and on our way to Nieuwoudtville. There are carpets of flowers on both sides of the road. Purple on the one side, orange on the other, but still not the tapestry of colors that we are hoping to see later.
Now this is Van Ryn's Pass that goes up the escarpment from the Knersvlakte here below to the Bokkenveld Plateau, where the road tops out at 825 meters above sea level. Apparently the original pass was designed and completed by Thomas Bain in the 1880s, and he is credited with having designed and built many roads and mountain passes during a career spanning over 40 years here in South Africa. Anyway, this road was realigned up the escarpment and built anew in 1962 by the Cape Provincial Government, and as you can see, it's still well maintained. The pass is about 8 kilometers long, and the provincial border runs right through the middle of the first hairpin when coming from Van Rhynsdorp.
There are flowers on the sides of the streets here in Nieuwoudtville and in people's yards, but the Huntham Botanical Gardens only had a dilapidated patch of flowers that are struggling to make themselves seen. We basically paid $50 per person to use their facilities. Now this is more like what we were expecting at the Botanical Gardens. We are on the premises of a business here in Nieuwoudtville, and entry was free. We have orange daisies and yellow daisies and white daisies there in the background, and a smattering of other colors in between. So we'll be going from here to the Wildflower Reserve, where we will pay another $100. Hopefully we'll see lots of flowers, but we might just be making a contribution to the local economy rather than paying to view flowers such as these. Well, let's go and find out. We are now in the Wildflower Reserve, and again we have been unburdened of any decision-making capacity over another 100 Rand. But as you can see, the fields are not lush with flowers, and if flowers are what you were coming to see, then grass is simply not going to cut it. Unfortunately, we couldn't find accommodation in Nieuwoudtville, so yeah, back to Van Rhynsdorp. We got accommodation in a hotel. Not what we had in mind, but what does it matter, man? It's holiday. It is the next day. We want to get tonight's accommodation sorted out early because yesterday was a case of take what you get. The furniture in the room was made from railway sleepers, and it gives a nice rustic feel to the place. The problem though is that wooden sleepers were treated with carbolinium in those days, and somehow the smell is still quite strong in the furniture. Anyway, the wood was off-gassing carbolinium the whole night, so I'm not sure how much time it's wiped off our life expectancy. So tonight's accommodation better not be that. We have just left Vredendal. We are on our way now to see if we can access the farm on which my father-in-law was a schoolmaster during the early to mid-1970s. So we are on a farm in Namakwaland. This was the school that my father-in-law taught at. There's no Skier. But 50 years ago, it was the school of the area. And we have lots of flowers around here. Namakwaland daisies and whatnot. We are just entering Koekenaap. It's not too far away from the farm that we were just at. Actually, my wife's aunt stayed here with her husband and children about 50 years ago or so already now. So the name Koekenaap sounds a little bit like Cape Afrikaans for when you want to say cook a monkey, but apparently there was no monkey cooking of any kind going on around here. According to unverified sources, there were German missionaries working the area with a Khoi guide, and one of them said in German, "Guck hinab," which means look down there. And then the Khoi guide misheard them or misunderstood them and thought that the place's name was Kukenap or Kukinap, and so it evolved into Kukenap. We just left Kukenap now, and we saw this field here on the side of the road. Wow, look at all these beautiful flowers just spread out here. So actually we saw more flowers here than what we paid for when we went to the other places in Neovotville yesterday. So this is the gravel section of the R363 from the Kukenap side to Niveris, which is on the N7. So when we get to Niveris, we'll turn left and head up the N7 towards Springbok. Here around this area there are patches of flowers, beautiful over the hills and the valleys and so on. So it's still a nice experience to see all the flowers just along this section of road.
Baie blomme sien vandag.
So we spent the night here in Springbok and all the streets are full of flowers. But we're going to be driving to Nababib now. Apparently there are lots of flowers there too. And then we can try and make our way to Uppington, where we will sleep tonight as we try and make our way home. We have seen this phenomenon quite a number of times over the years, and while we've often appreciated how spectacular it is, we always just used to put it down to being normal spring. This time we wanted to understand the story behind the appearance of the flowers a little bit better, and it's also the first time that we have specifically come here to look at the flowers. So the Cape Floral Kingdom sits almost entirely within a Mediterranean climate zone. This means that this part of the country has cool, wet winters and dry, hot summers. So the winter rains water the seeds that remain in the ground after the previous summer, and the plants grow during the cool winter months and start blooming in vast quantities over the spring months. There are 5 such zones in the world, and they were formed over millions of years, predominantly on the southwest sides of the Americas, Africa, Europe and Australia. These 5 zones are considered to be biodiversity hotspots, but only a relatively small portion of the plants contribute to the vast spectacle. I suppose one could think of this beautiful floral display as nature's expression of a much older and much more remarkable story, if one considers that this environment was formed over tens of millions of years ago, and also millions of years before the ancestors of the sand hunter-gatherers first roamed this landscape. Anyway, I want to stop here in town so that we can walk among the flowers. It's so beautiful. There have been flowers all along the way from Oakip all the way to Nababib. The whole town is covered in daisies. Every yard almost has daisies in it. In fact, I think it's not possible to not have daisies in your yard. They are still sleeping. It is not yet 11 o'clock and it's about 16 degrees Celsius, and apparently they wake up after 11 and 18 degrees Celsius. So these are the half asleep daisies that you see here all around the town, and with the rocky outcrop there at the back, also all covered in daisies, and the field here. So we are going to see flowers and flowers and flowers. Perhaps we'll see some more and maybe capture it, but it has been very good for us so far. So it's a really beautiful landscape. This is Gugab Nature Reserve. We were supposed to be on our way to Uppington already, but my brother and his wife slept here, and so they said, oh, it's so beautiful, and I just wanted to kick past, and my wife was saying, yeah, let's go and have a look. So here we are having a look, and we are nowhere near Uppington. We are still very much close to Springbok. Anyway, it's time to hit the road now, I think. I hope that this actually wraps up last year's videos reasonably nicely, and that the whole story comes together properly. And as I'm saying this, I hope that I actually complete the video. So let's see how that goes. But in any event, thank you for being with me on this one. Check out the next one.